While Remake was a tight, mostly linear experience, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is shaping up to be a massive, expansive, open-world RPG with a ton to do. There's a lot going on here, from party members to minigames to Gwent and even more. So today we're going to break down everything you need to know about the game. Let's go! Let me know in the comments who your favorite party member is. Now, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second chapter of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. There will be a third entry as well. The first was just called Remake, which was set only in Midgard and ended as Cloud and the party escaped Midgard in a pursuit of Sephiroth. There's also like a smaller expansion type thing that was added to Remake called Intermission, which introduced Yuffie, who will play a big part in this next chapter as well. She'll be a new party member for Rebirth. Now, where the story goes and if it'll follow the exact beats of the original, we don't rightly know yet, but I will link Square Enix's recap video for you here for the events of the remake in the comments below, as if you just want a refresher of the story, and I think it's worth watching anyway, just as a good primer for before jumping into Rebirth. Now, if you're wondering if you need to have played Remake or Integrate, Square Enix have said that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a standalone game that welcomes fans and newcomers alike. But being that this is the really big one, Remake feels kind of like a prequel in that way. Like, you could definitely get away with just watching the recap and then diving straight into this game. I don't think you've got any issues there. And if you have played Remake or Integrate, by the way, you will get a special summon if you have save data on your PS5 for either of those games. For Remake, you get the Leviathan summoning materia, and for Intermission, you get the Ramar summoning materia. The game director has said in an interview with Game Informer that you can expect a 40-hour story campaign and then up to about 100 hours of content if you do all of the side content. Yuffie is not the only addition you can expect in Rebirth. Now, you've also got Barret, Tifa, and Aerith that you can expect from Remake, but there's also some more additions. So Yuffie will cover first. Now, her weapon is the throwing star, and you would have played as her in Intermission if you did play that. Now, she uses that throwing star and sort of ninja skills. She excels in both long and close range combat. There is also going to be added Red 13, which you would have been introduced to at the end of Remake. Now, his weapon is titled Collar, which he sets up foes with an unrelenting assault, laying into them with beastly ferocity, guarding against incoming attacks with his feed, his vengeance gaze. So from what we've seen in some of the footage, he is a quick attacker that can counter enemies in a lot of fights as well. You've also got Catsynth, who doesn't have an official weapon description, but they are a wisecracking feline-shaped robot often seen poised atop his big Moogle Pow, which seems to be used in combat as well. We've seen footage of Catsynth using the big Moogle Pow in combat as well. There will be other characters that will be playable in sections, like the best example is Sephiroth, that is playable in the demo and at the very start of the game, as that is where the demo does take place. But if there is more characters that will join the party or are playable, we don't 100% know yet, except that Zack will have his own chapter as part of the story of this part of the trilogy, so we can probably expect something there. But there are other big changes from Remake as well. So it's not only the introduction of these new party members, but the way you can actually play as them as well, both inside and outside in combat. Inside combat, you'll be able to use their unique abilities as well as the new synergy abilities, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But outside of combat, you can use their unique mechanics to solve puzzles and traverse the world. For example, Yuffie can swing, Barret shoots stuff with his gun, Tifa has a grappling gun, Red can climb things, and Catsynth can throw things with the Moogle, and Aerith can manipulate the live stream. We've seen this in the state of play, and I'm quite curious how this evolves the puzzles and some of the gameplay aspects and how this is actually involved in that. On top of controlling those companions, you can also date them. Now, there will be dialogue choices that we have seen for Rebirth. Now, those dialogue choices and the options you pick from them will affect your relationships with your allies. Now, this will all culminate in a date that you can go on at Golden Saucer. Now, the devs have also said that there will be new party members that you can actually take on that date sequence to Gold Saucer, which will actually be expanded from the original Final Fantasy VII. But those dialogue choices will actually mean more than just taking them on that date. It will actually affect your relationships with them. That will actually have combat effects as well, to sort of, if you had those good relationships, it's mentioned that you'll be able to unlock their true potential. So there might be skills that you'll see in the folio screen that might be locked behind those dialogue choices, and it does seem that every companion, even the ones you would assume are not romanceable, being Red 13, does actually have a relationship status with Cloud. The combat will be an expanded version of the combat you would have experienced in Remake and in Intermission. Now, this is really an action-based combat system that does allow you to slow down time to trigger various abilities, so it is a little bit of a hybrid to that original turn-based from the original. But what's unique here as well is that the party will level together via this party level. So as you complete quests and do various things, you'll gain experience for this party level. Now, you'll use this party level in what's called folios, which is essentially like the skill screen for each of the individual characters. Now, you can see in some of the footage that there is synergy abilities, which are abilities that can be used together with other party members. So it's also mentioned that every party combo will have its own synergy abilities, but you use these like combination attacks to trigger together in combat for like large amounts of damage or other effects as well. Now, you can also reset your folio at any time if you wanted to like try different builds and stuff, which is absolutely things that I will be doing. Now, this new progression and skill system from Remake sort of means that, you know, your original progression from Remake obviously won't carry over, but there's new abilities here that you'll be able to tinker with. And there's more to it than just this folio skill system, right? You've got materia that you'll find throughout the world that you'll be able to socket into your weapons just the same as you could in Remake. And there's also gear to find, right? Now, being that it is a much larger open world game, you can expect that there will be a bunch of gear to find in the world, from weapons to equipment and armor, that sort of a thing, as well as craftable materials that you'll be able to find to really develop your characters in your own unique way and the way that you want to build out them and the party members that you want to use to give you those different options. You can definitely expect videos from me on that sort of stuff when the game does come out. This time, the game is set in an open world. Now, across this massive space, rather than just Midgard, which does lead to these regions having their own unique landscapes and color palettes, which is one of the things that I am most excited for. One of my issues with Remake was just how everything kind of looked the same because you are in Midgard for the whole time across that whole experience. So I'm really excited to see these diverse landscapes in different areas. Now, Chadley is back and he still has the simulator, which you can use if you want combat challenges, but he now also wants intel on the open world, specifically from these towers. Now, this is a tower-like mechanic that you've definitely seen before in open world games, where you go to the tower and you claim the tower and you unlock icons on your map. Now, these are called world intel. Now, there's different options here, and we've seen a few of these that have been described through the previews and the state of play, from sanctuaries, which will reveal knowledge about the different summons that you can then fight to help you then subsequently call on them when you want to fight. There's also layers for boss fights and proto relics, which we don't know a heap about yet. And then there's a second type of this sort of content called odd jobs, which will allow you to delve deeper into the world and its characters, essentially like those sort of side quest activities that you may stumble across as you are exploring across the world. The game director also said in that same interview with Game Informer that Rebirth will feature totally new cities that did not exist in the original to go deeper and create this whole worldview of Rebirth. That's really exciting if you have played the original, and you'll be able to see these new cities, not only the old cities in that 3D new sort of style, but also completely new cities that maybe were only like briefly mentioned but weren't actually shown in the original. Luckily, you won't be traveling this new world just on foot. There will be plenty of mounts that you can get. We've seen buggies and wheelies to like travel around the city, but your main way of transport will definitely be chocobos. Now, a very early quest in the game, we've seen in the previews, is to actually get your first chocobo, but that first chocobo isn't the only type of chocobo. We've also seen mountain chocobos that can climb up and down like steep slopes that bear these special markings, as well as sky chocobos that you can use to actually fly and like glide around across peaks and valleys, which will be great in sort of mountainous regions to reach hard to reach locations. I'm really excited for these different types of chocobos and just different ways to explore, like being able to climb things and fly over, because it makes that world a bit more engaging and fun to actually explore in than just running around on foot or just, you know, riding around on the ground on your chocobo. It'd be interesting to see how that does develop. But the most exciting thing has to be Gwent. Well, Queen's Blood, right? So they have added a Gwent-like card game called Queen's Blood, which will be a mini game that you can complete, and probably the main mini game that you'll experience throughout the whole journey. So you can challenge NPCs to win different cards. There's also a tournament that you can compete in. Now, I haven't got my hands on it myself, but the way it seemingly works, just from the footage we've seen, is something to do with placing your cards down, and then you can like buff adjacent cards, and there are the 3 different lines, and if you have the most power in those 3 different lines, then you seem to win. So it seems very similar similar to like Gwent's setup in the way that, if you remember, Gwent had those sort of like 3 lanes and you need to get the most power in those lanes, blah, blah, blah. But you can definitely expect some sort of a guide for me for that when it does come out, as I'm really excited to collect cards. I love collecting cards in video games. That's just a weird thing for me. Like, I play a ton of Marvel Snap, so maybe that's why. But there are plenty more mini games as well. We have seen Chocobo races where you break balloons that appear along the way to use various techniques, and you can deepen your bond with the Chocobo with this as well, which is interesting about what exactly that means. That's mentioned in the press releases. 3D Brawler allows you to manipulate 3D polygons and take on your opponent in a one-on-one like boxing match. G-Bike is a seemingly racing motorbike where you can actually use your sword to like attack enemies as well. And there's been others that we've seen in the state of play as well. Like there's dolphin riding, there's this soldier quick time event thing, there's playing piano for cats, and what I can only assume is Rocket League with Red 13. Now there is more to it that we have seen, like little tidbits of information, right? So 400 new music tracks have been created for Rebirth. You can also expect a performance and a graphics mode on the PlayStation 5, as well as PlayStation 5 specific like features like haptic feedback, that sort of a thing. Now it will be launching on PS5 on February 29, 2024, and it will be exclusive to the PS5 until at least May 29, 2024. And chances are it will then come to PC exactly like Remake did. I wouldn't expect it to launch on PC specifically on that day though. Like, just because the exclusivity period ends on May 29 doesn't necessarily mean it's coming to PC immediately. They may take a little bit more time for that. Just depends, you know, on what their plans are as a company and publisher. They have also mentioned that they have no plans for post-launch DLC. Maybe they'll do some sort of, you know, intermission episode like spin-off thing again, but you know, we don't really know, as they have said that there isn't anything planned there. But if you want to get your hands on the game right now, you can go and play the demo on PS5, and on Feb 21st they will be adding a new open world section of the Junin region to the demo that you can sort of tinker around with as well. But I am eagerly awaiting that February 29 release date. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are you excited about for Rebirth? Is it the story? Is it the combat? I'm really interested to see what is really drawing people in for this title. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.